Hi, my name is Anna Sepanski, and today I'm going to be walking you through my portfolio. First, in my portfolio, I have my resume, and I included this in order to show to prospective employers. And I've included my education, experience, skills, acknowledgement, involvement, and contact information. In my portfolio, I covered a wide range of projects, beginning with church design, leading into residential, administrative, aviation, compartmental, and landscape. All of these six projects I've completed over the course of the past 4 years. The most recent is from my senior year, leading all the way down to project six, which is landscape design from my freshman year. Turning Point Community Church was my most recent project completed, and that was in the fall of 2020. And I completed this alongside three of my classmates. We worked in a group together on this project, and this was the addition to the Turning Point Community Church here in Lubbock, Texas. And so we really wanted to make this space bring the outside in and use biophilic design to really tie the whole space together. So we started with our inspiration, which mainly came from nature and natural colors. And you can see here in our reception space, we've used natural woods for the flooring and blue tones on the wall, neutral furniture, and then large curtain wall windows to let in all that natural light. And you can see here we've implemented drop down ceiling acoustic panels in order to absorb a lot of noise because the space is pretty large and it is very much needed in here. So moving on, you can see here's our overall floor plan, and you can see we started with our adjacency bubble diagram and blocking to come up with this overall layout. And so when you walk into the building, you're greeted with the reception, and then the reception has a straight on view of our baptistry that leads over into the cafe space over here with the gathering area and the children's play space that has direct access to the children's check-in, which is this entrance over here. And then on the west side of the building, we have our administrative offices and break room, conference room, and this has its own separate reception for whoever may need to go into that space. And then we have a large worship area that has all of the back of house located behind the stage for what's needed. And you can also enter that through this green room here. And so you can see our biophilic design really came through with the materials we selected. And so we have greens and grays and blues and the natural woods and some geometric patterns for the tile and the carpeting. And then we also incorporated this turf into the children's play space and then a green wall, which you can see here in our baptistry rendering. This green wall we incorporated behind the pool, and the goal for this was to use the recycled water from the baptistry to water the plants on the wall. The pool here you can see has that glass facade, so anybody watching the baptism can see into it. And then here we have our elevation of the cafe in baptistry, which the cafe also includes those biophilic elements of the fake greenery hanging above. And you can see in this rendering to the right, we have the cafe shown, and you can see the garden out here. And the reason we implemented a garden was so that the fruits and vegetables grown here could be used in the cafe for whatever sandwiches or snacks that is making sort of a farm to table concept. And so people can sit in the cafe and mingle with friends or even go into the gathering space. It's just a very open concept cafe space. And then here we have our reflected ceiling plan. And again, you can see that we have all of these drop down acoustic ceilings in order to absorb noise. And we place them in the gathering space above sitting areas to kind of differentiate them from the overall open space, and same thing in the reception area. And then when you enter into the worship center is where we have the most, because obviously that's where majority of the noise is going to be coming from. And so we have them over all the chairs, and you can kind of see in this rendering on the left here, you can kind of see how they're hanging down there. And it's a really cool wave pattern that also kind of goes in along with our biophilic design concept. And here you can see where the kids check-in is. We used a glass curtain wall around the play space for safety purposes. and to keep noise in when children are playing if other events are going on. So our RCP includes exits, recess cans, sprinklers, speakers, smoke detectors, the pendant lights we've chosen, which you can see in this rendering, Wi-Fi boxes, and then of course the drop acoustic panels. This next project I completed over this past summer in 2020. I worked on this at my internship, and so it was really awesome because I was able to work alongside the interior designer to help select all these finishes and materials. And I actually put the whole entire floor plan and layout into Revit myself and created this rendering, which now the project is complete. And so it was really cool to go and see over Christmas break and see it come to life. And it looks almost identical to this rendering, which is really cool to be able to see the work I've created come to life. And so with this project, we demolished the existing bathroom, and then I did the dimensions and all the floor plan notes here, which I gave to the contractor. And then I completed elevations for all the cabinetry and the shower area with and the toilet space, because all these cabinets were custom made, and so I had to make sure to get all the dimensions correct on those and add proper notes so that the cabinetry maker could get all those right. And then same in the shower space with this niche here, that was custom made by the tile company, and so this was all very important information for all of the individuals working on the project. And here you can see the materials and finishes that were chosen that are viewable in the rendering. The next project I have is the Texas Tech Department of Design, and this was completed in fall of 2019. And this was an individual project, and the goal was to renovate the area of classrooms downstairs in the College of Human Sciences to create a new Department of Design. And if you've been to the Department of Design in the Human Sciences building, the current setup they have is pretty small right now. And so the goal is to make like a way bigger space that students and faculty could utilize for all types of work. And so here you can see the rendering of the conference room. The design was very minimal and simplistic, and the inspiration I drew from the West Texas landscape, in which I pulled colors like these yellows and greens. And you can see the layout of this floor plan started with the adjacency blocking and bubbling. And so I wanted to have the offices be near the exterior windows so that while the staff is working, they can get a bunch of natural light. And then I also put windows on the interior of the room so that the grad office and the larger office in the middle could also get some of that light, even though they're in the center of the space. And so I wanted a clear circulation around the whole room. And so you can kind of see like all the public spaces are down here in the south side of the floor plan. So you have the reception when you first walk in the door, and then the kitchen's next to that with the file and storage, and then the conference room, and then there's an exit also on this side. And then all of the offices are easily accessible through this hall here, along with the grad office, which I included the library inside there because I figured the grad students would be the ones that would be using that library the most. And then the gallery wall I wanted to be on display in the reception so that when guests arrive, they can see work of the students and faculty members. And so here you can see that view of the grad office looking into the library. I made this screen to kind of separate the space, but also make it visible for its users. And then all of the offices are carpeted, and then the public spaces and hallways are all quartz tile. And so you can see on the reflected ceiling plan, I've included exits, recessed lights, wall wash down lighting, which are primarily in the gallery space, LED strip lighting, which is located in the grad office. You can see here in this rendering a little bit, and then also in the conference room for that added effect. And then sprinklers, of course, Wi-Fi boxes in each office, air vents as well, and then smoke detectors, of course. And then here you can see the materials I selected, and you can um, tell that these colors all really came from the West Texas landscape. I actually, going with my inspiration, I took a screenshot of Google Earth to kind of like draw all these colors from. And that's how I came up with this material selection. And so you can see here on the rendered floor plan, the it's all very muted greens and browns, and it kind of all just flows nicely together. Here you can see my two sections, and then also this is a view of one of the offices that are on that exterior wall. And you can see here how I put these large windows in to kind of let that light flow into this grad's office space here, which I just have a large opening for so that they can interact with all the other offices. And then here is a small view of the reception space. And this was actually a custom reception desk that I created for this space. I wanted it to be modern, but also functional. And so you can see this wraparound wood counter and then the white, and then it goes up high enough so that a person can just sit behind there. And then I also put the Department of Design sign behind there. And my next project I have is from spring of my sophomore year, and this is the renovation of Terminal C at McCarran International Airport in Las Vegas. And the goal of this project was to create a new terminal and consider the location of each existing gate, the tram, and the northeast end, and the existing column placement. And so for this, I drew inspiration from the Kimball Art Museum in the TWA terminal at the JFK Airport. And so when I was thinking about the Kimball Art Museum, I really liked the arches that form the shape of the building. And so I used the pre-existing columns that were already in this floor plan in order to create this archway system that goes across and kind of creates this hierarchy for each space, and compression and release throughout the whole terminal. But before creating this floor plan and layout, I worked in two groups to create this airport typology infographic, in which we researched the typology of airports, for example, like terminal layouts, the steps travelers go through when they arrive and depart from the airport, common asked questions, different amenities that are located in the airport, and then these boarding passes down here show information on 3 terminals that we used as precedents for our project. And then over here, we did an anthropomorphic study in which we 3D scanned one of my group members' legs in order to kind of like learn more about the human body. And then we also made a 3D model of a ball and socket joint, which is like the joint in your shoulder here. And so the point of that was to really see like how individuals move throughout a space and how the space is occupied by humans, and how we can use universal design and ADA in order to create the most functioning space for its users. And so I wanted my floor plan to be pretty open, but I have all of the amenities within the center. And so you can see here, I kind of use those columns to create this arching grid, and also to use that to align my furniture below. And so here you can see my first and second floor exit plans, an aerial site plan to show how this gate connects to the other terminals. And this line here is the tram that comes in, which you can see over on this end. And so this is where travelers will be getting off to go into the gate. And for this project, I made custom gate seating, which you can see here in this rendering, and a small axon here. And so this seating was created so that you could put your suitcase in between your seat and then use the top as a little table if you're having a snack or eating a meal. But it also gives you enough space between your neighbors so you can sit next to a stranger without feeling awkward. And then I also had some built-in seating within the amenity system in the center. And so this is just made for a couple of people to sit and like have a quick bite to eat or a snack. And then upstairs is where I implemented this custom table seating, which has bar height and table height, so that people can sit on both sides, but they don't necessarily feel like they're sitting directly across from somebody if they're a stranger, which I think is really nice. And usually at airport, everybody wants their privacy, but sometimes it's hard to find somewhere to sit because you don't want to sit next to a stranger. And so that's why I incorporated this. And then here in the center, you can see my model images from my section model, and this was made out of chipboard, and I was able to build all of my furniture in Rhino and 3D scan it and actually place little 3D scan plastic models in here, which I thought was really neat to be able to see it like at the full scale. And so here in this section, you can really see what I was talking about with that hierarchy of the different arches. And so the wider it is, the lower the ceilings are, and then the center is even, while this other side has high ceilings and is a little bit narrower. And so that is that whole compression release and hierarchy that I was talking about earlier. And then my next project is Artist in Residence, and this is located in Chicago, Illinois. And this was my first project I ever did in Revit, so that was a lot of fun, and I really enjoyed learning how to use the software. And so the goal of this space was to use as many wall or as little walls as possible in order to create a workspace for an artist. And so I started with these simple diagrams and cardboard iterations of the space, trying to figure out the best way to utilize the room and give the artist as much possible workspace. And so I came up with this system here, which kind of just has all of the living quarters as this one cube in the corner, but also allows for a hallway, so it's just completely separate from where they're working. And so you can see in my spatial diagrams, you can see the living versus working relationship, the mass versus void, and then the separation of space. And then I chose very minimal materials, just wood, and then two light paint colors, so that when the artist is in the space, they can focus solely on their work without being distracted by any of the decorations or finishes of the room. And so aside from just using 3 walls in the room, I wanted to be able to separate the space by using different varying ceiling heights to differentiate. Like, for example, this bathroom here has a lower ceiling, but then you step up to go into the bedroom. So the heights in these spaces are the same, but at different levels to kind of give that separation that you're going into a different room. And my last project is the Writers Retreat, and this was located in Fayetteville, Arkansas. And this was done in my spring semester freshman year. And my freshman year, I was in an interdisciplinary studio. And so that was combined with architecture and landscape architecture as well as interior design. So this project really went full in on all of those different fields. And so we started with a site visit in which I diagrammed the site, kind of did separation of space, public versus private, and then some watercolor drawings of what I imagined my space would be like. And so the community space is this larger building at the bottom. And so this was dug into the ground to separate it from the artist's residence, which is above ground, built into this small sloping hill. And so the artist walks through this narrow hallway and out into there's residence, and I did all of the surrounding walls glass to really immerse them into nature. And the same thing goes for this community space here. Just simple glass walls, concrete, very modern, and the stairs step down into the space. And so you can see here on this floor plan what I'm talking about. I have these sidewalks that kind of go around the space and into them, only having one entrance and exit to the writer's retreat, and having that being very privately accessible versus the community space can be accessed from all sides by these stairs. And so I started with these small process models and eventually evolved into this final model that included the site with all the pre-existing trees. There was a few trees that we had to take out because of where the buildings were being placed, but overall, I tried to keep as many as possible. So you can see here how that vision came to life. And that is my portfolio. Thank you so much for your time and attention. I appreciate it.